Governor Jared Polis is going to do it. He's going to sign the bill to give Colorado's electoral votes for president to the winner of the national popular vote. The bill passed the state legislature with only Polis's fellow Democrats in support, not a single Republican in favor. Colorado joins liberal states like New York and California in signing on to this deal, which only kicks in if the states involved gather 270 electoral votes, enough to pick a president. Colorado brings them to 181 of 270. Opponents in Colorado plan to gather petition signatures to force this to go up for a vote of the people come November. They will need about 124,000 signatures by this summer. Denver's social cannabis consumption experiment now has a 50-50 success rate. That is math that even I can accomplish because 2 businesses have been licensed. First is still open, second one closed its doors today. Has our Steve Steger wondering if this pilot program is going to fail.
We've followed the story of Vape and Play pretty closely. We were there when they applied for their license, and the day 7 months later when they were ready to open. And today, a little less than a month after opening, the Vape and Play story ended. The COO says the business is closed and it's for sale.
Can they be successful? Is there a workable business model? And so far, the evidence shows the answer is no.
Since the voters passed this social use pilot program in 2016, a total of 5 businesses have applied. Only 2 were granted licenses. One of those businesses is now closed. The other is still open. It would make it seem this pilot program isn't working.
Are we doing what the voters told us to do in I-300 while also protecting public safety? And I would say, yes, we're doing that. The real question is, does this business model work? And so far, if you look at the evidence, maybe not.
I've heard so many people from the city say you can't make this a workable model, but there are so many businesses out there that can defy that.
Cindy Sylvine has a business model, and she applied for a space, but her marijuana spa plans were denied because the building was 19 feet too close to a daycare center. Her plan failed because of a rule created by the city, not the voters.
All of the red represents areas that are not eligible for a property.
And she says she's been working with a lot of other owners with great business models who've run into this same problem. The city disagrees, saying the green space on her map includes a lot of possibilities.
We rather deal with facts, not fake outrage.
They count 9,000 potential businesses, but Sylvine doesn't.
There are so many underlying businesses that already want to do this that simply can't because they're in a red property, so it's not an option for them.
So another potential obstacle for these business owners is this program is due to go away in December of next year. So Sylvine says a lot of businesses are leery about finding a business that may, or funding a business, excuse me, that may have to close. So City Council could do something about that tonight. They are set to vote on an ordinance that would remove that sunset, Kyle, that was originally in this. There's also been a task force looking at this proposal. 2 of the things they've recommended are kind of looking at those proximity requirements. Yeah. Right now, the only thing in the ordinance is 1,000 feet from schools. The city added 1,000 feet from daycare centers and city recreation centers. The task force has looked at potentially taking those out and just leaving the school.
That would give them some more room to operate.
Give them some more room, or potentially allowing for exceptions if the daycare center is okay with it.
Interesting. All right, we'll keep an eye on it. Thank you, Steve. Colorado's Democrats are in for an expensive, potentially messy primary battle in the safest of their congressional seats. Former State House Speaker Crisanta Duran is launching a primary challenge against 12-term Congresswoman Diana DeGette of Denver. Duran's positioning herself as being to DeGette's progressive left. But in our conversation today, Duran couldn't name a policy difference other than the Green New Deal. She supports it. DeGette's team says she likes the goals of the Green New Deal, but she's working on her own legislation. Duran is also calling for a new generation of leadership.
We need to evaluate whether or not we have the best leaders in office. And I have decided to run to be the next Congresswoman from Congressional District 1 because I think it's time for a new generation of leadership. And I thank Congresswoman DeGette for her many years of service. Congressional District 1 has changed in many ways since she was first elected over 20 years ago. And for the future, it is important that we have a new and different style of leadership.
Do you believe that Congresswoman DeGette is an effective member of Congress?
Well, I think that she should be recognized for the work that she has done, and I thank her for her service. But in these times, it is time for something different and something new.
Thank her for her service. That's what Marie Kondo says we should say to our old sweatshirts before we throw them in the trash. Are you concerned that people are going to hear that and say you can't just shoo somebody off the stage because you want it to be your turn? You have to have real differences with them?
Well, nobody owns a seat in Congress.
Your campaign website claims credit for reforming the culture at the state capitol and mentions the expulsion of former Representative Steve Lebsock for sexual harassment. You promoted Lebsock after learning of his alleged sexual harassment. You put him directly in a position of authority over his alleged victim. Was that a mistake?
I followed the wishes of Representative Faith Winter. And it is very difficult when one has experienced sexual harassment or abuse as to how they want that handled. I followed her wishes, and I thought that the issue had been resolved.
And she was fine with you placing him in a position of authority over her legislation?
Well, at the time when everything took place, I thought that the issue had been resolved. You know, and if I would have known back then, when I made the decision for him to be chair, everything that I know today, there is no way that I would have put him into that position.
My full unedited conversation with Crisanta Duran is posted on the next YouTube channel. Hey, King of the North is going to be on the Today Show tomorrow morning. You remember Travis Kaufman, the man who fought off and killed an attacking mountain lion near Fort Collins and inspired this camera shot? Kaufman and his girlfriend, who's trying to lock that down, will be in NBC's Studio 1A tomorrow. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger has moseyed on home from his trip to the campaign trail in Iowa. Marshall made tracks all across Iowa's rolling hills and nubbins. Those are small hills. This is how he sketched out his trip. Except Marshall got taken into a blizzard of presidential proportions. During a 3-hour delay at the Des Moines airport, he offered this outsider's perspective on following 2 presidential candidates from Colorado.
I've never covered presidential candidates in Iowa before, and technically I guess I still haven't because neither Senator Michael Bennet nor former Governor John Hickenlooper have officially announced, but we're here nonetheless. And our trip started with a lot of driving in northeast Iowa. Our first stop was in Dubuque at a house party where we met Josie Mitz.
No, I had no idea who he was.
She just wanted Bennet to answer a question on a millennial's time frame.
It's the same kind of thing.
And he failed because she was already looking at her phone by the end of his answer.
I got under the 90-second requirement, and then unfortunately I went on after that. But she did say I'd answered her question within the 90 seconds.
Following Bennet meant more driving, 3 hours back to central Iowa. At least I got to see my town.
Hi, Senator.
We saw him meet a handful of people at a cafe, dozens more at a bar. Kudos to the handlers behind the scenes for dealing with all the logistics. And on Saturday, it was Hick's turn, and that meant more driving during a blizzard warning. Now, we considered not driving to northwest Iowa the 3 hours, but this is as bad as it got, some dense fog. We got to Sioux City at a coffee shop where we immediately met a table full of regulars that did not know Hickenlooper was about to speak or who he was.
Why come to Iowa?
Well, why are you coming to Iowa? Listen, why is this your 3rd trip and you haven't announced yet?
We even met Dennis in that red MAGA hat.
I just have to listen to the guys, and then I can tell a little bit.
Following Hick meant more driving, 3 hours to Ames. Luckily, the blizzard still hadn't hit yet. This was our biggest event of the trip with actual presidential candidates like California Senator Kamala Harris. This is the event where Hickenlooper again had to explain who he is and why he's still not a candidate.
We haven't made a final decision, but assuming I get into this race, and I almost feel it's a calling. Thank you very much for your time.
And then we were done, except we still had to drive back to the hotel. And that's when the blizzard hit. Thanks, Iowa.
Marshall and photojournalist Corky Scholl blogged about their experience, and you can see that on the next section of 9news.com. Colorado has lost a fierce and fearless champion for disability rights. Carrie Ann Lucas died over the weekend. She was an unapologetic advocate for the idea that a life impacted by a disability is a life worth living to its fullest. And that led her into some unusual political alliances and opponents over the years.
Lucas fought Colorado's physician-assisted suicide bill,
worried that people facing a difficult diagnosis without support would feel pushed out life's exit. That had Lucas on the side of conservative Christians who also opposed the bill. But she was a constant presence hounding Republican Senator Cory Gardner on health care, even leading a takeover of his office one night. Lucas was an attorney. She was a mother of 4. Forbes headlined her obituary with the line, "You probably haven't heard of her, and that's a problem." A good number of Coloradans were fortunate enough to have heard of, to have crossed paths with, to have known Carrie Ann Lucas, and are better for it. She was 47 years old. There is a wait list in this state of people wanting a surgery that will change their lives.
We've really underestimated what this surgery does for people.
The number of surgeries could more than double in Colorado this year. I don't even know how we begin to choose a most Colorado thing from all of your epic snowstorm photos.
So Casa Bonita is somewhere I've been going my entire life.
Don't call him a Casa Bonita regular. He prefers to think of himself as more of an amateur tour guide. We'll dive in next. The most Colorado thing I've seen today. I can't choose. The snow brings out your A game. There's my man, top down, braving the storm on Friday morning. That is intense. But is it better than the Iditarod wannabe? Zeus, the Bernese mountain dog, tearing down a street in Denver. What about the kids in Arvada who use their trampoline year-round? Just swap the shorts for snow gear. Then you have this guy down south in Pagosa Springs. He told me he couldn't find his patio furniture in snow that deep, so he just carved a new seat. Now that is a snowy patio photo I love.
And that's how we do Colorado. And it's nice to have a break from the cold and snow. Right now, the jet stream is north of us, and that cold Arctic high is keeping that really cold air north of Minneapolis. Yeah, there are a couple of storms looming out there, but Denver's going to enjoy a little bit of a break for a day or two. Now, interesting, average high is 48. We were 41 at the airport, but 55 in Littleton, 48 in downtown Denver, and could go even warmer tomorrow. Winds out of the southwest will bring us a sunny day, a nice day ahead of a storm that's going to bring flooding rain to California and eventually some snow to the Colorado high country on Wednesday. Tonight, the biggest threat will be fog, reduced visibility, and some of that cold air sloshing back in across the Front Range. But other than that, not too shabby on a Monday night. So here you go. Partly cloudy and 22, patchy fog east, and then clearing, highs in the mid-50s tomorrow. That's going to feel good. A little cooler but dry midweek with mountain snow, warm Thursday. Storm taking shape for the weekend. Snow late Friday, brief snow shower, and then some scattered snow showers for Saturday and Sunday. But colder air certainly settling in. And so many of you again sharing these beautiful shots of this one of our latest winter storm in Aurora, Kyle.
Kathy, thanks. Denver Health has 3 doctors who perform male to female gender reassignment surgery. 3 doctors. There are only 10 to 20 doctors nationwide who do that. One of their first patients is a Denver native who says she felt out of place in her own body since childhood.
I kind of forced my masculinity, and it just ended up being awkward. Like, girls would be like, "What are you doing?" And guys would be like, "What are you doing?" Because I was terrible at it. My name's Camille. I work for a large tech company. Everyone's looked in the mirror and seen a reflection they don't agree with at some time in their life, but they're able to correct it, like with a haircut or exercise or something. But when you're in the wrong body, it builds and it builds and it builds, and it never goes away.
Gender identity is being more studied nowadays, more accepted as a medical condition. I'm Rodrigo Donalizio da Silva. I'm one of the Denver Health gender-affirming surgeons.
I feel like I'm in the right body.
Oh, it's the best. And you look so great.
It's pretty much giving them the identity that they always had, but it was hidden in a body that they didn't belong to.
You don't think about your genitals and how they maybe don't match the person that you identify with because we take it for granted. These patients are the happiest patients in the hospital. After having this huge surgery, they have these halos of happiness around them, almost like they're glowing. It means everything. It's huge. And I think we've really underestimated what this surgery does for people.
Just waking up every morning, it's like a brand new lease on life.
Denver Health is the only hospital doing this surgery in Colorado. They started last year, performed 30 of the surgeries. This year, with a long wait list, they expect to do more than 80.
My name's Andrew. This is my 300th visit to Casa Bonita.
Hi, Andrew. Oh, this is not a support group? It's just a story about some dude who's been to Casa Bonita 300 times? Cool. Actor Jason Momoa, talking about those Momoa Samoas.
I love Girl Scout cookies. I'm just like waiting to get some free ones. I'd love some.
Hollywood love for one smart Girl Scout from Colorado. Next. You know Casa Bonita. Andrew Novick knows Casa Bonita. He's dined there hundreds of times. Our Ann Herbst supped with a Casa Bonita connoisseur.
Casa Bonita. Welcome to the world's most exciting restaurant, Casa Bonita.
The Pink Palace is a restaurant deserving of a leader.
Yo ho ho and a tortilla.
Andrew Novick.
It's a dream.
Might as well be mayor.
You got the fajita upgrade
of this Mexican food wonderland.
There was an old Casa Bonita commercial that says, "It's a feast, it's a festival, it's a feastival."
He's definitely got the experience for it.
Isn't that crazy? I've been coming since 1974, since the day it opened. Welcome again to my 300th visit to Casa Bonita.
A delighted devotee of divers and gorillas.
When people come and they're like, wait, that's a real place? I thought that was just on South Park.
He loves it more than Cartman does.
Well, this is the cheese mine, and this goes back 4.7 miles because they've been serving cheese out of here for 45 years.
Andrew doesn't need a reason to give his famous unofficial tours.
There's so much to go explore.
He just thinks it's fun here, and it's something that caught manager Robbie Hall's eye years ago.
Well, this is kind of unusual that you have a person that I don't know, that's not an employee leading a tour of people around the restaurant.
I'm sorry that Black Bertha's giving you a hard time.
But today he's leading man.
And I'm the sheriff of Casa Bonita.
In multiple ways.
Andrew, what is your favorite restaurant?
Andrew invited 300 people.
Well, Casa Bonita, of course.
420 came.
Thanks for coming to my party.
20% of the sales, $1,500, went to Foodbridge Marketplace.
Super jazzed.
A food incubator that helps refugees and immigrants.
They're selling lunches over there and learning kind of the business part of food so they can sell their nation's cuisine and hopefully, make it here.
That it's going to such a good cause is just a testament to his character.
We had so much fun.
Oh my God.
You did.
Yeah, he could be mayor
or
sheriff, leading man.
Oh, man, let me tell you.
But this palace needs a ruler.
This is the 300th meal right here.
So crown Andrew Novick king.
Your Denver's own Mexico.
For next, this is Ann Herbst.
Had the candles and everything. Had to ask, what's his favorite thing to eat at Casa Bonita? Chili rellenos. How about that? He's guessing visit number 400 is coming up in about 15 years. The Jason Momoa Samoa Girl Scout cookies that you saw on Next, they made the red carpet at the Oscars. We will hear from the man himself. A little something for the ladies next. Remember that Colorado Girl Scout who slapped a shirtless Jason Momoa on her Samoa cookies and sold a ton? Moms told her that they needed them. Some permit patties cried copyright, told us that girls shouldn't be using Mr. Momoa like that. Well, he found out about the cookies, and he told Entertainment Tonight that he would like a cut in cookies.
Love some.
I think she would probably send you some.
I would love some.
So you want her to send
I
you
want
some?
the shortbread, and then you got to put that in the freezer. That's the best way.
You don't want your own cookies?
I don't want.
He just wants his cut.
I want my shortbread cookies.
We did hear that Jason's mom wanted a box with his photo on it. I told you, moms need them. Tom writes in, says, what about Trinidad doing gender reassignment surgeries? I thought they did the most. That was years ago. Original doc retired and a second doc left. Now it's Denver, Tom. See you next time.